Good morning. Welcome back to the broadcast, Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder. This is BRN AM for Thursday, October 7th, 2021. And our top story today, the hidden costs of credit score apps. Joining me now to discuss this and a lot more is Saeed Ijaz of Consumer Reports. Saeed, it's great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you, and I love when we get the folks at Consumer Reports on to really give us an unbiased opinion of the work that you do, whether it's looking at cars or today we're going to talk about credit score apps. And I got to be honest with you, Syed, I have used Credit Karma and some of these apps that were referenced in the article. What's yours and Consumer Reports perspective on them? Did they serve a good purpose?
We understand why a lot of consumers gravitate towards these apps and use them to check their credit score. They market themselves to sort of be a one-stop shop for managing people's credit. And that sounds like a great thing, and it should be. But the reality is there are just a number of hidden costs to using some of these most popular apps. In our report, we took a look at 5 of the most commonly used credit scoring apps: Credit Karma, Credit Sesame, MyFICO, Experian's app, and then TransUnion's app. All of these credit apps purport to show you your credit score, but the reality is that for the most part, the score that they show people through these apps aren't the scores that most lenders use. That, along with a number of other hidden costs, such as the amount of data people give up, the costs required to actually access the true credit scores that lenders use to make decisions off of consumers, things such as arbitration agreements that are in the consumer contracts when people sign up for this, that gate them out of the justice system if they want to take action, legal action against these apps. Things like that sort of add up. And we realize that there isn't too much of a use for these apps. If people want to check their credit score, we always recommend to check with their bank or their credit card company and see if they can get their credit scores through them. And when it comes to checking your credit report, folks are legally entitled to a free check of their 3 credit reports from Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion through annualcreditreport.com. And so our conclusion is that there really isn't too much of a use for these apps.
Yeah, and really, really good points. And I hope people are listening here, because I see all the ads all the time about, hey, if you sign up for this, we'll boost your score. But let's unpack a little bit, if we can. There are three major credit agencies that you referenced. And to your point, a lot of this data that you're seeing through these apps is not in line with, if I go to get a loan, or I go to buy a car, or I go to set up a new credit card, they're using a completely different, or not completely different, a different grade of credit report to look at my credit worthiness.
Yeah, the way I like to describe it is what most people think they have just one credit score, and that's just not true. The credit score that these apps in particular show, for the most part, are approximations of someone's ability to qualify for credit, very generically, across a variety of different types of credit products. But the reality is, people have over 60 different FICO scores, highly specified based off of the type of lending product that a person is applying for. Your FICO bank card score, for example, helps determine your interest rate when applying for a credit card. Your mortgage score helps determine your ability to qualify for a mortgage. But these are not the scores that are being shown to people in these apps. If you want to get access to these scores, at least through these apps, only 2 of the services actually provide that insight. MyFICO, which requires you to pay in order to access that, and then Experian also provides these scores, but you got to pay to access those. The way I like to describe it to folks is that the score that they show you in the free version of these apps is kind of like your grade point average. It's, just an approximation across all your different classes on your transcript. But the lender, they look at your transcript and they look at the specific classes you took and the specific grade you got in various categories. And it just so happens to be, in this example, you get your GPA, but you got to pay for your transcript. And we don't think that's right.
Yeah, and look, you don't want to see my transcript whatsoever. Probably not a pretty sight compared to so many others. Syed, let's talk about some of these costs, and we'll talk about data, I think, in our second segment. That's a really one I want to hit on. But a lot of these organizations use this as a way to sell other products like credit cards or other services like credit monitoring or locking your credit. I mean, I've seen it. I've gotten solicitations for it. What else are they trying to sell here?
The major thing in these apps is what you just hit on, which is credit cards and other types of lending products. It's in particular the thing that we didn't find too great about these apps is that they frame these offers for credit cards as advice inside the apps. But the reality is they're making money off of the advice they're giving. And in that regard, there's a different interest in the minds of these companies, right? They want to make a buck, not necessarily give you something that would help your credit score or would make your credit history stronger. But framing it as advice and acting like, these companies acting like they are, in lockstep with the consumer's interests, that seems dishonest. One of the recommendations we've put in our report is that these companies can be much more upfront about the nature of the advice they're giving. Because the reality is, signing up for a bunch of credit cards that you may not need may not be the best thing for your credit score. But these apps have an interest in pushing these offers into consumers. They'll do it in their email marketing. They'll do it when folks are in the app, and they'll constantly remind folks to consider their advice and sign up for a bunch of cards and other lending products. We want companies to be a bit more honest.
I completely agree, and I want to unpack that in our second segment. And I'll just make the point when we go to commercial break that in the retirement world, we have something called fiduciary, and the fiduciary has a responsibility under ERISA to ensure that they are giving advice for the benefit or acting in responsibility towards the benefit of the beneficiary. We probably need something like that similarly in the credit worthiness world. Syed, as I said, I need to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk more about privacy, data, and how you can protect all of the above. You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
You need a financial plan that fits the way you want to live in retirement. A plan that can help grow and protect your money, now or in the future. With an annuity in your plan to help cover essential expenses, you'll have the freedom to live the retirement you want. This is what an annuity can do. Find the right financial professional to show you how. Learn more at protectedincome.org.
Welcome back. We're talking to Syed Ijaz of Consumer Reports. Syed, thank you so much for staying with us this morning.
Yeah, no problem at all. Glad to be.
Yeah, and yeah, it's great to have you. And just want to reiterate, maybe we can start here. You really have to understand the motivation of whoever or whomever is providing information to you. I think that's the key, whether it's information on Twitter or some of these social media platforms, but also companies understand what their motivation is in terms of driving product, or are they trying to be actually objective? Do you think that's a good place to start?
100%. It's always important to be cognizant of the interests of the people that are putting information in front of you, whether it's your credit score or these advice or lending offers. It's important to know why they're doing that.
Yeah. So let's talk about the other cost. And I think this is something that more and more people are realizing is an even higher cost to just dollars or cents or whatever currency you're using, which is the cost of the use of or loss of privacy. There's a lot of data that goes into these apps: your social security number, your date of birth, your maiden name if you change your name when getting married. All this information creates a profile of you that can be sold.
Yeah, that's something that we really focused when we were cracking open these apps. Taking a look at exactly how much data they collect, what they do with it, where they send it. Do they send it outside of their own bubble, their own sphere to other third parties, and why they're doing that. And we didn't find anything we really liked. We think these companies over collect data. Credit Sesame, for example, collects your most specific location data they can get. And it just makes you wonder, right? Like, why is an app that's providing a credit score tracking which part of town I'm in? And when we followed up with them, their response was, well, this is to provide the most customized offers in the app possible. And that doesn't seem like a great reason to us. People are already, we live in a world where folks are giving up so much data already. And especially for services that they can get elsewhere without giving up that data, we really don't think it's a good reason for these companies to collect so much. Additionally, all these companies send that data out to their third parties that they deal with. And it's one of those things where once you've given your data to somebody else and then they give it to other people, suddenly your data's out there sloshing around in the ocean of data. And nobody wants that. And then finally, all of the things that these apps provide, it's not a necessary service. Like, people can get their credit scores with their bank, usually, or with their credit card companies. And people are entitled to an annual check of their credit reports through annualcreditreport.com. And we don't want consumers to give up data when they don't have to. And so for all those reasons, the privacy concerns are particularly poignant.
Yeah, I really think that it is an underappreciated, even in today's environment where you hear about hackings and ransomware attacks. And I think it's a really underappreciated how much data we are putting out there, giving to organizations, whether it be companies, governments, et cetera, to use in whatever way, the shape, or form. Let's talk about consumer protections, because I think, obviously no system is perfect. Whether it's a credit monitoring system, a retirement system, there's always imperfections. But what is being done to protect all of us, the consumer, from one, entering information that we're not aware that is being shared, but also protecting that privacy and making sure that we're protected from hacks and other types of attacks?
Sure thing. So there are a number of things. We have a variety of recommendations for the app companies themselves in our report. More specifically, though, there are two bills in Congress that Consumer Reports is in support of. The Comprehensive Credit Act, which is a very broad bill that reforms the credit reporting system. It gives consumers stronger consumer rights in the credit reporting system. It allows them to file easier disputes. It provides folks with their actual credit scores, the actual transcript that lenders use to make decisions about consumers. And then there's another bill that I'm very excited about. It's called the Protecting Your Credit Score Act. And it's very in line with this report in the sense that it creates a secure, free portal for consumers to be able to access all of their credit information, get the reports from all three bureaus, and see their credit score. And that would effectively be a service that would completely replace these apps. And it wouldn't have a profit motive where you're being inundated with offers that are framed as advice. It wouldn't require giving up large amounts of data. It would just be a more secure replacement for what these services offer. That being said, until those bills have passed, there are a number of things consumers can do to just protect themselves. And that's something I really want to underline, that these apps are not necessary. Folks can close their accounts with these apps and try to find their credit scores with their bank or their credit card. And actually, because of the pandemic, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, through annualcreditreport.com, the site that's set up to allow people to freely and securely access their credit reports, the three credit bureaus are currently allowing folks to check their credit reports once per week for free through April of next year. So I highly recommend folks stay up to speed on their credit. Now, if folks are unbanked or they don't have a credit card and they do want to leave the system that is these apps and close their accounts, they may be wondering, how can I get access to their credit score? Like, how can I get access to my credit score? The sad reality is, at that point, the system that we've built around credit and lending isn't really meant to serve unbanked people and people that don't have credit cards. And that is why we would recommend folks sign our petition to Congress to get these bills passed. So then everyone gets captured and is able to access their credit reports and credit scores freely and securely.
And that petition is on consumerreports.org, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, well, really great information, Syed. Really appreciate you coming on and breaking this down for the audience. We appreciate having you, and we look forward to having you and Consumer Reports on again very soon.
Thanks so much. I had a great time.
That wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest, someone you think we should talk to, drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the information in retirement markets, technology, personal finance, so much more, check out today's edition of our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse. We're back again tomorrow. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
Are you being audited and do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate your tax bill and reduce your stress. The IRS can freeze your assets and seize your bank accounts, but you can stop these IRS actions. The Tax Doctor will work with you using our years of experience to represent your case to help you get the best resolution under the IRS guidelines. Help is here to deal with the IRS to reduce your stress. We've handled thousands of cases, so we know what we're doing. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a Tax Doctor now for a tax emergency analysis.
Call 800-224-6439.